The first client that was found in Woodstock, Cape Town, was throttled to death. Allegedly. Hello everybody, it's me, Keisha. I think that's going to be my new thing from now on. And it's Tuesday, which means it's True Crime Tuesdays, because it's a thing. I've made it a thing. Last week Tuesday I spoke about Bubbles I still can't say her name. Last week I spoke about the mysterious case of Bubbles. Her murder still goes unsolved. I have chills. Anyway, and I was like, this case was pretty disturbing because it's never been solved, but I want to dig into something a little bit more hectic this week. This video is not for sensitive viewers. There are going to be scenes of animal cruelty and violence. Before I get into the story, please don't forget to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. I want to know what you guys think. I want to know what you want to hear. This week I'm going to be talking about Pierre Basson. Pierre Basson was born in 1880. There's no clear date of his birth. 1880 is the one. He was born in Claremont, Cape Town. He was one of 4 children, him being the eldest. It was reported that he was a very odd little boy. He took pleasure in abusing and hurting animals. It was also said that Pierre was I need to read this word because it's really long. Unprepossessing. He had a sharp mind and a keen nose for shady business. In Pierre's teens, he gained the reputation of being a petty thief and committing tiny crimes here and there. At the age of 17, Pierre's dad unfortunately passed away from a short-term illness. It doesn't specify what the illness is. This automatically made Pierre the head of the household, and it gave him the responsibility of providing for the household, which also gave him the freedom to do whatever he wanted to do. In his early teenage years, he figured out how to start committing insurance fraud. So what he would do is he would have you as his client take out a life insurance policy. Then you would put him as the beneficiary. Why on earth you would do that? It was like the 1900s, so I don't know if many people were like educated about this sort of thing. He started a easy money scheme called money lending. This is how he got it right, to swindle peeps out of their money. So what he would do is he would lend you the desired amount, and then you would take out a life insurance policy and he would be the beneficiary of the life insurance policy. Shady business dealings, shady boots. He would charge you, the client, the normal service fee, and then the interest amount, so the amount you accumulate over interest in this policy, he would become the beneficiary of that amount if anything had to happen to you. Unexpected events. In 1901, he took out a policy for himself, his mother, his brothers, and his sister. It was a minuscule amount, like a normal amount you would take out for life insurance. But then for his younger brother Jasper, he took out an amount of $3,500, which was like crazy because why would this kid in his teenage years be insured for this amount of money? His excuse for taking out this life policy for his brother with this astronomical amount is because it could benefit his brother in the future. So he would take out, once again, the interest of the accumulated amount over the years, and his brother could go study, buy property, or whatever it is that he wanted to do. February of 1903, 2 years after he had taken the life insurance policies out on his family members, him and his brother Jasper go to Gordons Bay for a fishing trip. Jasper arrives in Gordons Bay late afternoonish, and he checks into a hotel called the Holloway Hotel. I couldn't find any images of the hotel itself, but that's where it was said he checked in. The two of them, Jasper and Pierre, decide that they're gonna go fishing at around early hours of the morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock-ish, and they head out on their little fishing escapade. At 6:45 in the morning, there were two other men that were also fishing, quite advanced fishermen, if you want to call them that. They were setting their stuff up and getting ready to do their thing. These men, who were Mr. Didier, maybe it's Didier, excuse me if I'm pronouncing any of this wrong, and Dr. Ford, those were the names of these men. Smart men. Anyway, these two men spot Pierre coming down the, I don't know if it was a boardwalk or just a sidewalk or just a pathway or just pavement. Anyway, they spot him coming down, and they see him coming down with two fishing rods over his shoulder, but only one person. And it was reported that Pierre was walking very calmly, and he approached the men and he said, I quote, "There has been a terrible accident. My brother has drowned." Now, so calm, eh? Like, I'm gonna go and order a Big Mac at McDonald's. Like, also my brother drowned, and he got taken by a wave. Do you know what I'm saying? That was like the vibes. He had said his brother got taken by a wave, and as he wanted to help, as Pierre wanted to help his brother, he got taken by a wave. So there was one wave that only seemed to take Jasper, and then a second wave that only seemed to take Pierre. But Mr. Didier, I'm just going to call him Didier, I don't know if it's correct, had noticed that Pierre was dry, bone dry, like he wasn't soaking or distressed or anything. He was completely dry. And I mean, if you are like hit by a wave and hit into a gully, aren't you supposed to be like dripping with seawater from head to toe? Mr. Didier wasn't having this. He was like, this is suspicious, dude. Like, you're way too calm. You're stating that your little brother had just drowned. You can't find him. You don't know what's happening. I think you should be more upset than this. Each to their own. I mean, every person reacts differently to trauma. But I'm like, I'm suspicious. You suspicious. We all suspicious. So Mr. Didier expected some like distress and confusion, and now, despite Mr. Didier and Dr. Ford not getting the correct emotion from Pierre, they launch a wide rescue search for Jasper. So the two men hop in the boat with guards and with Pierre, and they're off looking for Jasper in the direction that Pierre said he got lost in. Unfortunately, Jasper's body was never found, and when Pierre went back to the hotel, I just want you to keep this part of the story that I'm going to tell you in your mind. When Pierre went back to the hotel, he had asked the barman, Mr. Cruz or Craze, if the police come, this is what you should tell them because this is what had happened. And I want you to let the police know that I did come back to the hotel at this time and I did tell you the events that had happened. This poor barman thought like absolutely nothing of the situation. He was like, okay. I'd be like, for what, why? Who's asking? Why are they asking? I'd be like, the fuck? Why? Like, what have you done? Pierre heads back to Cape Town in Claremont, where his mom and the rest of the family is, and he delivers the news to his mom. It was never said in any of the articles or documentaries that I watched how his mom reacted to this. Was she sad? Was she despondent? None of that was ever said. Pierre then notifies the insurance company of his brother's death and of the events that had unfolded. And the insurance company's like, we're going to go investigate this because I'm not liking what I'm hearing. So the insurance company heads out to Gordon's Bay, where the accident had happened and where they had accommodation. And they started asking around. And of course, they're going to ask the barman. Now, the barman wrote down the story that Pierre told him to tell. And then when the investigators from the insurance company were asking, like, what the hell, you know? Things are starting to get a little suspicious. He was like, nah, I am giving this in. Everything in this written affidavit is false. I never saw him come back. I never did this. Pierre didn't look distressed or all the rest of it. The insurance company then says no, they're not going to pay out because they suspect fraud. Never mind murder, guys. They suspect fraud. Mrs. Basson, she's like not having it. She's like, you're telling my son he's a liar. I'm not having your shitty insurance company investigation. I'm taking you to court. The case then goes to the Supreme Court and they favor in Mrs. Basson. So the insurance company then pays the money out. What? With this money, Pierre and his mom decide that they're going to buy a property in Claremont called the Rooms. Whatever, they buy a property. Now Pierre's like, no one's noticing what I'm doing. Cool, I'm going to do it some more. One client of Pierre's was found dead in Woodstock, Cape Town. He was insured for a nice amount as well. The first client that was found in Woodstock, Cape Town, was throttled to death. Allegedly. Another one of Pierre's clients was found after drowning when on a sailing trip with Pierre. So they went sailing. I want to make client broker relationships are so important. We should go out sailing. That would be so much fun. That person drowned and died. Nothing was investigated. No one investigated this. Very dumb. Very, very dumb. And then there was a poor little German couple who were acquaintances of Pierre. They were found dead after being robbed and shot inside of their homes. Now, I just want to let you guys know that the common link in all of this was that these people had taken out insurance policies with Mr. Basson himself. So that's nice. He's getting all this money. His mom, his brother, and his sister and himself, they're living lush. 1905, Pierre meets a German farmer by the name of Wilhelm Schoeffer. Whatever. He meets Mr. Schoeffer. Mr. Schoeffer was a very successful farmer, and he had a farm in Highlands, which was 25 kilometers from Claremont. It doesn't say how they met or why they met or where they met, but they met each other. Pierre heard that Mr. Schoeffer was selling his Highlands farm. Now the farm was established and it was worth quite a bit of money. It was said that he looked after the staff that worked on the farm, and the environment to work there and work for him was just a very good one. It was very pleasant. Pierre puts in an offer to purchase the property. The property was on the market for $2,500, and Pierre put in an offer to purchase for 1020. They kept on going back and forth. Pierre was like, yeah, your farm's established, but I don't know, I think it's worth this much. And eventually Mr. Schufer gave in, and he was like, you know what, dude, I'm so sick of this. Take it, whatever. They then went to see Mr. Schufer's attorney, and he put a clause that the property will not be transferred without Mr. Chauffeur being present. Smart man, I say, smart man. Now, Pierre didn't like this idea, and we were all wondering, well, why, Pierre? Why would you not like the idea of this? So, a few days later, Pierre's like, I'm going to go back to this lawyer and I'm going to see, if I can change the clause, if I can change his mind. And he goes back and he's like, Mr. Chauffeur's changed his mind. He was like, you could totally take the property and you can put it on your name when I'm not around. And the lawyer was like, no, bro, you think that I'm stupid. Not happening. This obviously angered Pierre, and he went back home and he was like, whatever, we'll see. This happened twice, where Pierre tried to convince the lawyer and Mr. Chauffeur himself that it's okay for the transfer to happen if you aren't present, nothing is going to change, I'm going to take the house, Mr. Chauffeur wasn't having it. At the time when the transfer duties for the house was taking place, Pierre invited Mr. Chauffeur to go and have a drink with him at his house to discuss when the property can be put into his name and all that good stuff, So Mr. Chauffeur lets his staff know that he's going, but he's going to stop by to get his horse and tote or whatever that thing is called. He's like, I'm first going to take this thing for repairs, then I'm going to be at Mr. Basson's property because he's going to hand me a check and we're going to sort everything out. Now, at the time, Mr. Chauffeur was like, I know this check he's going to hand me, there's going to be problems with it because he's just been a problematic buyer. So he lets his staff know and he says, I'll be back in about 2 hours. I'll see you now. Cheers, carry on with your work, do your things. So he's off and he goes to fix his little horse carriage. He says to the man, the locksmith helping him with everything, that he's going to go and see this man because he had bought his farm, but something seems fish, That's why they're going to go have a drink together. Not a locksmith, the blacksmith. So stupid. Mr. Chauffeur, Wilhelm, arrives at Mr. Basson's property and he is greeted by Mr. Basson, Pierre, and his friend Tobias Lowe. This date that he had went to Pierre's home was January 22nd, 1906. So a couple of months after he made the offer to purchase and everything. It's been a tumultuous couple of months. Yeah, Mr. Chauffeur never returned. He just was never seen alive again. Shortly after Mr. Chauffeur goes missing, Pierre takes ownership of his horse and trap. That is it, horse and trap. Keisha. Because he had told the lawyer that Mr. Chauffeur had left a written letter, which was obviously not written by him, it was written by Pierre, that he can take the property and all of Mr. Chauffeur's belongings footsteps. Now, footsteps is when you buy a property as is, damages, everything, whatever, you buy it. The lawyer's like, this seems fish. This seems very fish. And also, Mr. Chauffeur's brother doesn't believe this. He's like, my brother would not just leave everything to this random person who he's been having problems with. Mr. Chauffeur's brother goes to the police and says, you need to investigate Pierre because nothing seems legit. This check that he had given my brother was fraudulent. The letter that my brother apparently wrote doesn't make any sense. So can I just have some help? Anyway, the investigation goes nowhere because the police are like, this just seems harmless, you know. The blacksmith and the staff are like, but the last place he was seen was with you, so what's going on? 9th of February 1906, not even a month after he goes missing, a reward is offered to anyone with information to do with the missing man. The reward was $50. Like, 3 weeks go by, no one comes forward with any information. Now, an anonymous letter was written, but now we know who it was written by a lady named Caroline. She had said, you have to go check Pierre Basson's property because I have a feeling that this is where Mr. Chauffeur is and this is where he was last seen. The police set out to the property. They found nothing. Not a single molecule. 2 days later, another letter comes through from this lady, and she's like, no, guys, for real, please go and check this property. Something is not right there. So the police go back to Pierre's property and they interrogate him and his friend Tobias. And Pierre and Tobias are saying nothing. Nothing is happening. No one is complying. It's just very frustrating for the police. The police, I don't know how to explain this. They're just getting frustrated, so they're not really moving the case. They just think, this poor old man, shame for him, sorry he went missing. Pierre then says to his mom, it was Tobias. He's the one that killed this man, and if the police dig deep enough down underground, they'll find his body. But I didn't do anything. I don't want to be linked to this because Tobias is my friend. I was seen with him on that day. You know, he's playing this bullshit victim cuck. So his mom's like, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. It's going to be fun. Pierre then gives his mom a kiss. You know, thanks, Mom. Thank you for your support. You know, I really appreciate you. I don't know what I would do without you. So he kisses his mom. They are, I don't know why they're kissing each other. It's not like he said goodnight or anything. He kisses his mom. He has to go, oh, that's why they kissed each other. They kissed each other goodbye because he had to go down to the police station to give a report about the allegations made against him and Tobias. This is where it gets crazy. Pierre comes out of his bedroom, beautifully dressed, suit and everything. He looks at his mom looks at him, they acknowledge each other. Pierre then goes outside and his mom hears a gunshot. And he killed himself. So not only was he violent, into animal cruelty, allegedly killed people, but he was also a coward. So the police are like, oh dude, what the hell? And also, where did he get a firearm? That's like some serious stuff. Where are you getting this firearm? That's what I want to know. I just have to process the fact that he killed himself. It's terrible, like. these people that had gone missing and been killed, and you were the last person they were around. No one's ever going to get justice. No one's family is ever going to get closure. Okay, so Pierre was never tried for any of his crimes. Tobias Lowe did stand trial for the murder of Wilhelm Schaffer, but he also did not get convicted or spend any time in prison. Now, on March 1st of 1906, Mrs. Basson was arrested in association, I think is what we say, with the crimes that Pierre had committed towards his brother, but she was released a week later. After Pierre's death, the family was unfortunately left destitute because they couldn't provide for themselves in their home, and all their belongings went on public auction and sold for mad bank. So that's the story of Pierre Basson. I think he was very disturbed, like, to hurt animals. And also I read somewhere along the way that he did kill a person when he was 12 years old with a knife. I don't know how true that is. I don't know how true any of these things that I'm telling you in the story are. I hope you liked this story. I hope you enjoyed my makeup. I will list everything I used in the description box down below. I got a new palette and I was excited to dip into it. Please stay safe. Please remember that we are still trying to get through a pandemic and make mindful choices when we go out. Anyway guys, thank you for spending some time with me. I hope you have a great week and I'll see you next week for Tuesday.